Well, good morning, folks. I have to say, it is a beautiful, beautiful sunny morning in sunny Southern California. A nice cool breeze. It is in the hotter parts, 4 degrees. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It is the halfway point today. We are at the official halfway point of the year. It is July the 1st. We are 3 days away from one of the greatest days of the year, Independence Day. Look, can the morning get any better?
Well, first of all, I'm still getting used to your numbers. I mean, 70 what?
74 degrees.
I don't know. How did the United States of America stay locked into that dynamic?
Listen, bro, I'm telling you, it's a Southern California thing. Even better than Florida, although I will tell you, Florida's environment is 100 times better because they don't have all these crazy, insane leftists.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm trying to say is that the weather here is amazing. By the way,
second to none.
The only thing I can't get used to is these Fahrenheit numbers
and
these yards and feet and inches. I mean, why not take the temperature where water boils and the temperature where water freezes, go divide that up into 100? It makes so much sense.
No, we're not down with Celsius, bro. We have to use Fahrenheit.
How many?
Although I understand both systems.
How many feet are there in a mile?
Oh, it's 3,000. I'd have to look it up.
There you go. How many in a yard? I mean,
yeah, that I know. That's
okay.
easy. Yard is
so
easy.
Why not take a centimeter? Okay, take 1,000 centimeters, make a meter. Take 1,000 meters, make a kilometer. I mean, doesn't it make sense?
I don't know, bro. It just depends on what you were raised with.
Well, yeah.
The imperial system is far superior to the metric.
Yeah, well. If we had 6 fingers.
By the way, you can't tap on this because that comes out in the recording.
I will.
Yeah, you got to come a little closer to me so people can see you better in the camera.
A lot of things to talk about.
Yes, we are talking about a lot, and I want to lay this out right off the bat. We are going to talk about the blind spot in the Middle East. It is a Middle Eastern blind spot. Yes, it is an Israeli blind spot on a lot of levels as well. Her name is OSLO. We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about what is happening right now in Yemen. We are going to talk about the implications that are extended to Iran. By the way, I want to talk about the ridiculousness of the assertion that Fordo could have, was unaffected. That Khamenei is partying down there underground, that all of their stuff. What do you think is the likelihood that they were taking nuclear material away from Fordo instead of putting it into Fordo? I think they were transporting it in there because they thought that was their best bet to keep their material safe.
No, they must have known that Fordo was going to be hit.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Yes, they must have known that Fordo was going to be hit. But prior to the B-2 bombing, nobody in the world knew that there was in existence a penetrator that could go as deep as it did. Because the United States of America has been saying that their penetrator only goes 200 feet, and now we know it goes way deeper. Way deeper.
Well, okay, let's start off with this. I think the Iranians knew that there was a possibility that somebody would hit Fordo. 2, the penetrator issue, I think, and I might be wrong, and again, I don't have anything actual to say about this, but look at this. Before we hit Nasrallah and Beirut, they thought that the penetrators that we had went only a certain distance, and it wasn't enough to get to Nasrallah. Everybody was surprised that we got to Nasrallah and Beirut. I don't know if you remember. Everybody was amazed.
Oh, yeah.
Because we, we stacked the penetrators. And that's something that nobody thought about. Meaning you put a penetrator in, and then if you've got enough accuracy, the second penetrator can go down the hole of the first penetrator.
Oh, undoubtedly.
So nobody thought you could do that. And when Israel
they did. Have you seen the Top Gun movie?
Well, yeah, but
I mean, and by the way, isn't it weird?
Seen Star Wars?
No, I know, but isn't it weird? I mean, this is something I actually wanted to talk about too. Isn't it weird that because I watched the Top Gun movie for the first time on my way to Texas a few weeks ago, Isn't it kind of weird that it would seem as though that whole scenario was Iran, basically? I mean, you could tell it was Iran.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't know. What were the enemy aircraft? F-14s. The only...
No, they used F-18s.
Yeah, but
but the enemy aircraft were F-14s. One of the ones they
found
stole was an F-14.
The only air force in the world that was flying F-14s at the time
it's Iran.
was Iran.
So,
we blew up the last one, by the way.
But isn't it kind of like eerie and strange to think that they're talking about a world-class nuclear facility, that the only way to get to it is to drop a penetrator through an elevator shaft, or basically a vent shaft, and then stack another one on top of that?
Is that more eerie than how do you say, a yellow-haired man going down an escalator to become the president of the United States on The Simpsons?
Oh, bro, that I'm telling you. I mean, there's
how much earlier was that?
Oh, years.
That was years and years before.
Years. I mean, that, and then on top of that, like, will you just, okay, did you watch the State Department or the Department of Defense briefing on the actual operation? Not the one the day after.
No.
But the one that was 2 days. Okay. In that briefing, they told us that the capability of that ordnance, of that penetrator, is still classified. That basically, they will not disclose beyond 200 feet. Now, let me take this a step further, because this becomes even more consequential. According to the Department of Defense, this penetrator was specifically designed for Fordo, and they were working on it for over 15 years. That this was something that the Department of Defense started working on that would put us basically in Obama-era time.
Yeah, okay, but let's put it this way. It was very, very clear from the Gulf Wars that the enemy was digging deep underneath. I don't know if you remember NORAD in Cheyenne Mountain.
Oh, sure.
Is dug exactly on the same basis or the same idea of that. And if the United States of America wants to project its capabilities, it has to find a way to get underground. The situation was the same, by the way, with Afghanistan. I mean, we were thinking about Osama bin Laden being in an underground cave somewhere in Pakistan or Afghanistan. That was the idea. So the United States has been working on this. By the way, Israel's been working on this. Do you know that what would have happened if the Americans hadn't gotten it in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, the implications of that are obvious. You're talking about specifically Fordo?
Yep.
I mean, come on, give me a break. We probably, right now as we sit, would be sitting at a 90% enriched device. Because the reality of it is, we were already just a month away from it.
No, I'm going in a different direction. Israel, after the war started, did not know. We started this war, whatever you want to call it, with Iran, knowing that we had to take out Fordo.
Yeah, of course.
The government of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, everything that we know means that the Israeli establishment knew that we would have to take out Fordo.
Meaning we had intelligence
or without the United States.
So meaning Israel very likely had intelligence and people planted in Fordo already.
I don't know if because you don't want to be in when it happens, but I'm going to say there was an Israeli plan to take out Fordo that didn't include B-2 bombers and GBU-57s.
Yeah, but my question is, because this is something I've always assumed, let me just say this. I'll make a statement, not even a question. I am convinced that Israel already had explosives planted in Fordo and a way to detonate those explosives. I'm also convinced that when the bombing operations took place and they dropped that ordnance in there, that Israel, on top of that, also detonated that area, or could have detonated that area. I'm convinced of that. The sophistication of Israel's intelligence, the capability that they have of dropping things in, I bet you that stuff was planted in Fordo before they even got to Operation Grim Reaper.
I'm trying to touch something else. I'm going to say, okay, you're the Israeli military intelligence leadership. You've gone into Iran. Finally, the window of opportunity is opened up to hit Iran with everything that we've got. But you have a hard nut to crack. That's called Fordo. Okay? I don't think that we went into this operation completely sure that the United States of America would crack that nut.
Yeah, I would agree.
Which means that Israel does have a plan to crack that nut. I see two possibilities from a military standpoint.
Okay.
Possibility number one is actually conquering a piece of real estate, an aerial assault style Operation Overlord. I don't know if you remember, or when the Allies dropped thousands of paratroopers in Nazi Germany behind the lines before. Some kind of aerial assault where we actually dropped people who went into there and actually took it out. That was one option, and I think there was an option like that. Another option that nobody's talked about, nobody's mentioned, and nobody's reacted to is the fact that, I don't know if you know, but Israel has ballistic missiles.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't use them.
Yeah.
Why didn't we use them? Now, what is a ballistic missile? Again, a ballistic missile is an ordnance that goes up so high that it comes down so fast. And with the accuracy that we could have, I think Israel might have used, if we hadn't have had the United States to crack the Fordo nut, might have used our ballistic capabilities.
But I think you would not have a guarantee that the facility was destroyed using those, because they've ran those models.
Okay, here's the thing. What would guarantee it?
Penetration.
A tactical nuke.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. But even with a tactical nuke, and you would know this better than me, I don't know, I'm talking out of my rear here. Even with a tactical nuke, don't you still have to have penetration?
No. We're talking about levels of how do you say, energy, kinetic energy that is above and beyond what you have. You're talking about the kinetic energy actually need to get in there. I would even say, do you know that we have satellites? I don't know if you've ever heard space rods. I mean, drop a piece of metal from outer space, you're going to reach the velocities that will impact energy on the impact point as much as a tactical nuke.
I'm gonna find this for you while you're talking.
Let me remind everybody: Israel does have satellites in orbit.
By the way, David, you need to talk closer to your microphone because the people are.
I'm sorry. So, what I'm trying to say is this: we are very, very happy that the United States of America joined in this, and from every way that you kind of cut it. It is a huge asset that the United States did take out that facility, was willing to, and this kind of conveys to the world, to the whole world, who's friends with who.
That's right.
And again, from the Trump point of view, I think we've said this before, this was a win-win-win situation for him. I mean, he had nothing to lose from this. I mean, he's taking out one of the... ultimate threats to world peace. He's putting the Iranians and the whole Muslim jihadi aspect in whole, literally. He's showing that he is the new sheriff in the world, and that he has both the capability and the willingness to use the tools that he has. And last but not least, he did it without jeopardizing any American soldiers on the ground. I mean, he's just won everything that he could have in this one.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to read this to you, and you tell me what you think, because there's so many people that right now are still saying that this didn't happen. Meaning, oh, sure, we dropped bombs, but the effectiveness of what we did is questionable. It's not there's no way that we did that. Okay, so I actually found some information that was reposted that I absolutely love. And it's a guy who has a background in nuclear material.
Okay.
So he understands how this works. And what he says here is pretty remarkable. Okay. So let me read this to you because it is very, very interesting. Okay. And this is regarding Fordo. All right. He says the first level was 180 feet down through rock and soil. When a bomb like this penetrates down, they put a volume fuse on the tail end. It detects the space of a room or tunnel. You can program these to detonate, for example, on the third floor or space. Down inside Fordo enrichment factory, the centrifuges are very delicate and rapidly rotating machines, about 5 feet tall, roughly 1,600 centrifuges per line and multiple lines. Modern high explosives, meaning HE bombs, in detonation reach temperatures of about 7,000 degrees and create a shock wave of at least Mach 4.5, so approximately 5,200 feet per second, which is basically, I don't know what that other calculation is. Anyway, 15, he gives another number, 1586 MPS. But the other number, I don't know what that other calculation is. He says Fordo was turned into a high-pressure and high-temperature oven, and everything inside was melted down and plastered to the wall by the blast overpressure wave. Humans, not even their skeletons will be identifiable. Everything carbonized and molten hot for days after the attack. The highly radioactive material, 60% enriched uranium, is also now atomically embedded into the very walls. The hexafluoride used in the centrifuges is also highly corrosive chemical and kills people just fine. It melts them down and melts most metals like uranium and other transuranics. Fun stuff. No one can go inside without a spacesuit on due to the heat, no oxygen, only poisonous gases, and then perhaps be inside for less than 20 minutes before getting a lethal radiation dose. The only thing they can do is plug the holes and put cement caps over every access way with big radiation hazard symbols and skull crossbones for the next 40,000 years.
40,000.
Tell me that's not
okay.
wild.
So if we know that, meaning, okay, and this is like somebody saying, oh, you've chopped off the head of the snake, and then somebody coming and saying, oh, prove that you've chopped it off. And you see a head on one side, the snake on the other side, and somebody says, well, you haven't really chopped it off. There is an agenda for those who say that we haven't chopped it off. And again, the question is, who's got an agenda to downplay what America did in this case?
It's so crazy to me because the media is so short-sighted. They're doing the same thing with Bibi. They're doing the same thing with Israel. You know, it's this just weird, demented mentality that just basically it's derangement. It's Trump derangement syndrome, Bibi derangement syndrome. It's Israel derangement syndrome. You know, that's what it is. TDS, BDS, IDS. And I'll tell you why. Because this has never been about whether or not America effectively cut an enemy off at the knees without a single. Listen. Let me just say this. What we did in one day, what we did in this single operation, okay, was cheaper and with less consequence than 1 day of Obama's drone operations that lasted for 5 years.
Or one of the Gulf Wars.
Oh my gosh. 1 day of one of the Gulf Wars, we were cheaper.
Yeah.
So again, what in the world are people thinking? You have no reason to be upset by what we did.
Yes, they do. And again, and I don't know who there is. I don't know what his name is. There's a conservative representative on CNN now who's doing an amazing job.
Yeah, I keep forgetting his name.
I don't remember his name.
You're right. You're
but
100% right.
What he said this week is this is triumph after triumph. And if you have Trump derangement syndrome, the last things that you want to do is to recognize Trump winning, doing something right. So before while Israel was attacking Iran, by the way, don't forget what Israel did. This would not have happened.
Oh yeah, 100%
without Israel.
Yeah,
okay.
Because Israel is the one that set the precedent. They did the dirty work.
Not only the precedent, okay. even if Trump had decided that he was going to drop 6 bombs on Fordo, without what Israel did before that, those 6 bombs would not have any kind of impact.
100%.
Okay, and if you just
100%.
took out Fordo, you didn't take out all the rest. What does that mean?
Yeah,
So
100%.
we handed Trump this triumph on a platter. Now, don't get me wrong. His willingness and his ability and the technology is amazing.
Yep.
But Israel played a role, and I keep on reminding people, Israel not only played a role, Israel paid in blood.
Oh, yeah.
We paid in 15,000 houses that were non-livable after this. We paid in 7,500, 7,800 people wounded. I'm not talking about all the nightmares that my mom had running to the bomb shelter, and we paid in 28 lives. We paid in blood for this to happen, for this triumph to happen. So let's get back to some of that. But after saying all of that, okay, these people do not or cannot accept that the other side wins. So before they win, they're going to say it's going to happen terrible. It's going to be terrible. Israel's pulling us into a war. We're going to get into the war. The whole world is going to rise up. Then when it happens and there isn't a war, then they're going to downplay the result of what actually happened. That is Satan at work.
Yeah, of course. And listen, David, look, I'm just going to say this because if we really want to get into this, I think it's like really, really important, okay? Go back for just 1 second and think about how deeply demonic this is, how spiritual it is. Look, let's just take some of the merits that some of these people are arguing. Let's take a look at the Dave Smith types, okay? Or even the Candace Owens types. Like Dave Smith, to me, I heard someone say this about him, and I think it is such a very effective term. He is legally illiterate. He doesn't understand, and there is a moral bankruptcy where there is a level of blindness that he just simply doesn't see. He reminds me of a Zank Yuger in a different body. Is what he reminds me of. And here's the reason why.
A Jewish version, because he's smarter than Zank.
Well, look, I'm going to just tell you something. When I talk about Zank, I'm going to say this. Zank is a smart guy.
Yeah. But
I'm going to tell you why I look at him the way I do. I put him in the same category as Candace Owens. He is not an idealist. He is an opportunist.
Oh, okay. Can I illustrate that a little bit?
Yeah,
Do you remember before the election, Zank was talking about running for president?
Oh, yeah.
He was talking about, getting on the left bandwagon and there was a feeling that this is something that is on the move. Remember, the election was when, how long ago? About a year ago?
It was November.
November.
It was when we elected. November.
So
11th.
the day before the election, there was still a feeling that the left was on the move, and people who wanted to be a part of this should get on that leftist bandwagon. Zank was there and actually saying, I am going to run for president.
That's right.
Has he repeated that now? No, because he realizes that the left will not move him into that position.
Of course they won't.
Okay, but here's the problem. Okay. Now the anti-Israel on the right is becoming the new voice.
That's right.
And because dynamics have moved to the right, now the opposition has to be on the right side of the political fence. We didn't hear Candace Owens basically not Tucker Carlson until this election. It was only after this election that the right-wing anti-Israel has actually risen up, because until now, the anti-Israel camp had been the left wing.
Well, look, Candace went demonic well before the election.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see the darkness in her eyes and the representation that she was making. It was brutal. I mean, just when you look at the letter that came from Dennis Prager, that may have been one of the best written, most well thought out letters. And Candace knows that what she's doing is wrong. She has indisputable evidence of the fact that what she is saying is wrong, but she will not change because there is an incentive for her in doing what she's doing. The problem is this: she is functionally illiterate. And I'm not trying to be funny. She is illiterate in terms of legality. She is biblically illiterate. She is theologically illiterate, and she is absolutely morally bankrupt. And I know that there are people that are close to me that will not put her down because they, she's a friend or whatever, and I admire and I respect that. But the one thing that I want to do, and the one thing I want to make very, very clear, is that even the ones that are saying I will not talk bad about her absolutely despise the despicable words that continue to come out of her mouth. And I'll just talk about David for just a second. Dave Smith. I get it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to say what they're going to say. And he is a smart man. But here's the thing. You need to, at least, if you're going to get out of your lane and have a conversation about something like this, you need to have an education. Like, for example, I'll give you one example of this. He refers to Israel as being serial murderers. I bet you if you asked him to describe what the law interprets as mens rea, he would not be able to define it to save his life.
I don't.
And then if I went to him and I said, define what premeditation looks like within its functional context as designed to be written in the law as it relates to war and what we call casualties.
No.
How does it work? Tell me how we make calculations for casualties as it relates to the taking of enemy lives. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand the morality. And the worst part about it is he uses terminology just like Black Lives Matter. He goes and he says, Black Lives Matter. He doesn't say that, but that's what Black Lives Matter says. Now, am I going to debate Black Lives Matter? Of course I'm not. Black lives do matter. But what it stands for is absolutely obscene. And what he's doing is he's saying, well, then, do you like kids being murdered? I mean, do you like kids? I mean, the kids are being murdered. The kids are being murdered. No, nobody likes kids being murdered. Your problem is you are just as guilty as Hamas. You are a child murderer because you refuse to acknowledge who is actually complicit. And by acknowledging who is complicit, you yourself are aiding and abetting those who are actually doing it. Think about it like this. If I walk down the street and I see a man take the life of another, take the life of a child, and all of a sudden the police surround him and they arrest him and they start court proceedings, and I tell the whole world, that man didn't do anything. That kid actually was affected by something else, and this is what it was. First of all, the people that were trying to defend that kid are now going to be charged with his murder, and the one who actually did the murdering is now going to go home free to be able to do it to other people. And that's the problem. What you have right now is you have Hamas, who has put into effect the taking of innocent lives. They are a death cult. Their whole goal is the murder of their own people so that they may be able to put into effect a media rampage against Israel. And Israel has done everything they can to save the lives of these babies. And guys like Dave Smith are saying, no, they are the murderers. Dave Smith, you are complicit.
Well, I think deeper than that, and I'm going to add on. I'm going to use your illustration of somebody actually watching a murder happen, knowing who did it, and then seeing the police come in and blaming the police, for instance, okay? And the reason they do that is because they hate the police.
It's the truth.
Somewhere along the line, and they're willing for somebody to go free. They're willing for somebody to be charged. They're willing for justice not to be done because their hatred of the police supersedes their sense of justice, their sense of morality,
100%.
Their sense of ideal. Now, that is what's going on. The hatred of Jews and Israel supersedes morality and justice. And I'm going to go even a little bit deeper into this. Why did Iran lose this war. Why did Iran go to this place? Why did Iran get smacked so hard? Because all of Iran's economy, all of Iran's respectability, all of Iran's justification was based on its hatred for Israel.
And think about this, David. Look,
let me just finish this, James. If they had given up the tool that they were planning to use to bring Israel to their needs, they would have had no war, no bombing, and a successful and thriving country. They invested everything into their hatred of the Jews, and that's why they're here. That supersedes everything. That supersedes morality. Dave Smith is using that dynamic, we hate the Jews, okay, to get rating. Because if he was another Jew supporting Israel, nobody would be listening to him.
that's right.
If Candace Owen was another conservative supporting Israel, nobody would be listening to her.
Yep, that's
The
right.
only reason that she's got the platform that she has, and Tucker Carlson understood that. If he wants to be another version of Pierce Morgan or another version of this, nobody's going to listen. If he actually pushes and here's the thing, it lines up to the hatred of the man, the hatred of.
Yep.
And did you see what happened in London this week?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. But look, it goes right back to this. Like, let's talk about Iran. Since we're talking about Iran. And the same thing, it's the same problem with Hamas. It's the same problem. Do you know what Iran's GDP was last year?
No.
Take a wild guess. Tell me what. Give me an idea. What
Don't
you
even
think?
know how to put those numbers into dynamic.
Okay. Iran's GDP was just over $300 billion last year.
Total GDP.
Total GDP.
Okay.
Now, let me give you some perspective on this. Iran is one of the most strategic, dynamic pieces of property in the Middle East.
Yep.
There are opportunities for the type of trade that you can't even believe. We have companies that have more of a worth than Iran's GDP.
Huh.
There are at least 15 companies that I can think of right now that produce more than Iran's total GDP. Why is that the case? Because you have people like Khamenei who continue moving in the direction that they're moving, following the path of Khomeini, continuing to act in the same bogus, ridiculous way of thinking. And the reality of it is, and I think it should be said, I think it's critical that it be said, they did this to themselves.
Oh.
And yet the functional idiots, the useful idiots that are out there, continue to get people to believe the lies that are being communicated. If you look at Candace Owens' last tweet, you might look at her and you might think, oh my gosh, there are kids that are graduating the third grade right now. The third grade who have a better grasp on history than Candace Owens.
Okay, so why? Where does it come from? Again, why did Iran put so much of its energy into this anti-Israel basket? And again, think about an Iranian. Think about somebody who grew up in Iran, that their economy is really down a hole, that something like 1/3 of this GDP that you are talking about was invested into this nuclear program and to this ring of fire, and it's all gone.
Every bit of it.
It's all gone. By the way, one of the massive aspects of what happened just now is that Iran and others have realized that you put together a bomb that will threaten Israel, and you spend billions of dollars and millions of lives on it, and it can be destroyed in 30 seconds.
I mean, bro, look, it goes without saying. I mean, if you stop for 1 second to just examine who is actually complicit and then focus on those that are complicit, the name of the game completely changes. I'm not going to ever argue with Dave Smith in saying that it's terrible that kids are dying.
No.
I'm never going to argue with Dave Smith in saying that war is terrible. I'm never going to argue with people like that when they make those statements. The problem is the functional assertions that they make are disassociative with what's actual reality. They do not understand who is complicit in these matters. Israel is not. Let me say this one more time. Israel is not complicit.
But we're going back to the moral equivalency that everybody's doing, okay? And I've had a couple of people ask me in the last week, why should Israel have nuclear weapons if Iran cannot have nuclear weapons?
Let's just go back to Golda's statement. How about we just go back to that? What happens? What happens if Israel puts down their arms?
Oh, we know that. But here's the thing. The moral equivalency, it's like saying this. Why should a policeman have a weapon and not a gang member?
Well, that's right. It's exact same idea.
Let's say if you want to put up a law that says nobody should have a weapon, don't give a weapon to a law-abiding citizen because you're not going to give the weapon to a drug dealer.
Why should a cop turn on his lights and sirens and go past the red light? Why can't I buy lights and sirens and go past the red light?
And that is the basis of we don't want to bow down to authority. We don't want to bow down to reasonableness. We don't want to bow down to morality. We want to have our own morality. And that is that idea. You don't give a sawed-off shotgun to somebody that has a past of saying that he wants to kill his neighbor. And
yeah, look, I think let's go back and talk about this because here's one area, and I get this when I get all upset. Here's one area that I think is a good place to just settle in on for 1 second and have a conversation, okay? Because this moral equivalency argument is so bankrupt. Look, here, let me just tell you where it comes from, besides the fact that this is satanic, right? This is a function of Hegel's dialectic. This is a Hegelian dialectic issue. This is I can have a thesis and I can have an antithesis, and the ultimate beauty comes from what we call the synthesis, the coexistence of two things that are antithetically opposed to one another.
By the way, that's Eastern philosophy, the yin and the yang.
Oh, it's super, super evil. And the problem is, which, by the way, the Hegelian dialectic function, just the simple instrument that it travels through when it's communicated is broken. It's very difficult to get people to understand, and I think it was done that way by design. Why? Because what it aims to do is it aims to take away the justification for any action that is functionally moral based on the standard that God provides. It removes barriers, as what they would call it, barriers of morality.
It removes morality.
That's exactly what it does.
It takes morality out the public civic.
But I always like to say the barriers of morality, because the problem is when morality is strictly understood and adhered to, when functions of morality are stipulated to within the context of anything that you might find in a legal framework, sociological infrastructure, family infrastructures, it creates health. It creates sanity. It creates safety. They are the boundaries, the wise constraints that cause the growth and the discipline that creates whole societies and the freedom that we see within Western civilization. But the problem is because we've adapted this Hegelian mindset, we create these moral equivalencies that say, well, if you, then I. No, actually not true. I dare you to go to God and say, well, if you can speak anything into existence, and so can I. Let's see how that works.
No, but here's the thing. Somebody who kind of goes down that road actually is basically poking a finger or trying to poke a finger or trying to shake a fist at God, saying, how come you get to decide what's right and what's wrong? We should be the ones deciding what's right and what's wrong. And how many times, part of the dynamic that I saw with President Trump after the attack was the Congress saying, how did you do this without telling us? How did you do this without putting us in the decision-making process? We're important enough, even if you did the right thing, even if what you did turns out to be the right thing, we should have been, we should have given approval to this. And what President Trump is saying, it's the right thing. I didn't need your approval. I decided that this is the right thing. People want to feel that their opinion is taken in, even if they don't have a different opinion from the right opinion.
No, but it goes deeper than that. This goes back to the I once believed in OSLO mindset. You still look at these people in Congress with the kind of eye that is forgiving and carries the assumption that they are walking with the same kind of level head and moral that you have. The issue here in Congress was not, well, this is a War Powers Act issue. There was nothing like that going on. It had nothing to do with that. The issue here, and the one that is deeply consequential, and the one that is oftentimes not recognized, is this has nothing to do with following legal precedent. What these people actually want to do is these people want to use the context that they see in the law to twist it around to be able to be gatekeepers to keep the president of the United States from doing the moral and godly thing.
And even with them agreeing to what he was done is right, they're going to stand up against it just to derode the capability, the ability, and the willingness for him to do the right thing because they want to be more important. This is a Tower of Babel kind of dynamic. We want to be on level with God. We want to be inside the loop. We're as important as everything else. That, I think, to a certain extent, is what we're dealing with.
Oh, 100% correct. By the way, I just have to interrupt this for a second. Jada, God bless you. You are insanely generous. I can't even believe what you just did. But we're going to acknowledge all of the super chats and the super stickers when we get to the Q&A time. But thank you. Look, I'm fit to be tied with this. And you know what really, it drives me crazy. Every single debate you're seeing right now, whether it be on Piers Morgan or everybody else, why is it they're not bringing people in to bring stuff like this up? Why aren't we actually framing this the way that it should be framed?
Okay.
What's keeping that from happening? I get it. The devil, yes.
Okay, but the devil uses mechanisms, and when I have these discussions, I ask people, okay, the devil's at the top of the pyramid, but I want to see how the pyramid works, and let's talk about the pyramid, because if we want to fight the devil on the ground, I mean, I'm going to leave the angelic level of battle to the angels and to God. I fight on the ground. How do I fight this demonic dynamic on the ground? This is the erosion of, I mean, I like this one. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I am asking if it is right.
Yeah, it's the same. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. I don't know why you did this, but you just chose to fire me up today, bro. You got me all. But you know what? This goes back to the fact that I said Israel has a blind spot. Her name is Oslo. Because when you look at what drove Oslo, when you look at that picture of these world leaders, and I would never, ever call Arafat a world leader. That's a ridiculous assumption in and of itself. But when you see one legitimate world leader with another legitimate world leader giving credence to a freaking terrorist, that in and of itself does what?
It gives credibility to the other side.
It gives credibility to evil.
That's what we're trying to do.
And the blind spot, and the deep-rooted blind spot that exists within Israel right now is the fact that they continue to have the Oslo mentality.
Some of us do. Not all of us.
Enough do to interfere with what needs to happen.
We're working on it.
I'm giving you a break, bro. They're actually, up until maybe, 3 days ago, decided to stop indicting Bibi over cigars?
President Trump got into that.
Come on.
Okay.
The Attorney General, I've been saying this for a year.
Do we want to go down this dynamic?
We can. The Attorney General, can I just say this, is the biggest, most corrupt piece of garbage in Israel. Shame on her. Well, she is the devil.
She's not the only one, and there were attorney generals before, and there's a legal system. And again, this is a clash of, I'm going to say, not civilizations, but of moralities or dynamics. And there is or was, I guess would be the way to say it, there was a tiredness. And we wanted to touch Oslo, and I'm going to say this. I mean, go back. I mean, I've been on the battlefield for most of my life. I was down there. And when they signed the Oslo Agreement, I thought it was a good idea. I thought we might be going down the right road. I thought maybe.
How old were you at that point?
I'm going to say about 40.
Yeah.
35.
Yeah, it had to have been around that time.
35.
Yeah.
Meaning I've already fought in Lebanon. I've already spent time.
So you're actually not young and stupid at that point.
No, totally not. But I remember this, okay? And maybe this is a part of who we are. And again, I wasn't a believer, so I'm going to take the spiritual morality out of it. But when Dolev, my youngest, was born, I was in the army. I was in uniform. We did not have cell phones back then. I was carrying because I was afraid it was going to happen any day, but I can't put off the military. By the way, I got a lot of flack for being in the army when she was in the last month of her pregnancy.
Yeah.
But again, that's who we were. That's who I am. I was literally in Hebron. I get a beeper. Beep, 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 beep. And he said, go to the hospital quickly. So, I got my second in command to take my place and rush to the hospital. I still remember one of the most profound experiences of my life is holding Dolev. The first time he opened up his eyes on the world, seeing me cry. And I'm in army boots, uniform, and a rifle on my back.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, God, maybe he will not have to do and be what I have had to do and be. Can you understand that sentiment?
I can understand. I can
That
understand
is
the hope. I can
so
understand the desire.
deep.
Absolutely.
So deep, so profound that here I am holding on a new life. I've had to defend. I've had to put my life on the line on a regular basis. Look at where I am. I actually got shot at a couple of days before that. Okay, look at where I am. God, please give me hope that this doesn't need to continue.
Yeah.
And what I think you're talking about is the basis of Oslo. Israel saying, God, we've been doing this for so long. Give us hope that this doesn't have to continue.
Yeah.
And I know looking back at it today,
You got to get close to that.
and
Sorry.
I know looking back at it today, and I know the mistake of that, and I understand that evil cannot be hoped away,
Yep.
if you put it that way. But can you understand, or can anybody understand the dynamic of that?
Yep.
And I think when you want to understand Oslo, we were yearning. We as a people, James, I grew up on songs about peace, on yearning for peace, on wishing for peace, on hoping for peace. And if the stupid Arabs had said anything, they would have gotten the whole kingdom, almost.
Yeah.
If they had agreed to anything. The fact that we're standing today and we're saying everything that we hoped for and everything that we tried for, it's not going to work. But we did have hope that this has to end. I remember saying the sentence myself. Whether the Palestinians want to or not, whether the Arabs agree to or not, they have no choice but to reach an agreement with them. Do they want to keep on fighting this for 30 generations?
Right.
Turns out that they do.
Right.
It
Yeah.
turns out that they do, which means we're going to have to fight this for another 30 generations.
Yeah, but again,
Or
And
until the time comes.
you're the IDF officer. You're looking at this and you're saying, this is my hope that my kid won't have to go through this. You have these people that are saying, Bi'ism Allah, it's my hope that my child dies in the middle of this.
Yep.
That's the big difference. And that's the issue that's very hard to communicate to people. And Dave Smith doesn't get that part. People like him don't get that part.
No, Dave Smith is doing what Eve did in the garden. Okay, Dave Smith is doing what the serpent did. He said, oh, somebody's holding you back. Oh, somebody's not taking you into consideration. Oh, if you want to feel important, then you don't have to do what they tell you to do.
That is 1,000% correct.
That's as far back as it goes.
And he thinks that all the Iranian people want to do, I mean, that's his thought. His thought is, the only thing that the Iranians really want to do is this. It's like, it's ridiculous. And the problem is he doesn't get it.
Do you know, though, that that dynamic, and maybe I'm going to use this illustration, push it a little bit further, that dynamic in the garden would not have happened if not for the fact that they were in the garden.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can explain
Yeah.
that. Okay? If you're hacking out a life in the desert from everything that you can get, okay, you have a different mentality. The fact that you're in the garden and you get everything given to you, and you give everything, laid out for you, and you don't. The weather is so good you don't need clothes. Okay, the food is so good that you can eat and do whatever you want. Only in that environment can the idea of, oh, look, somebody's holding you down, actually work. I'm gonna see if I can relate to this. We're not in the Garden of Eden, but Western civilization is the cushiest, softest, most better living than human beings have had ever in the history of humanity.
That's right.
And only when we are living in this Garden of Eden, for lack of a better word, and I'm not saying everything is right, I'm not saying everything is good, but I am saying that there's less violence on our streets than ever before. An American has never seen a threat on his life. American has not in a relation. You don't have the horsemen coming over the mountain, knowing that you're going to be killed and your daughter's going to be raped and your food's going to be taken. I mean, you don't have that threat. America has never been threatened.
Not like that.
And in that way, and only then can somebody come and say, "Oh, look, somebody's holding you down." I mean, Dave Smith is going to say, "They're holding you down." Tucker Carlson's going to say, "Oh." Kaddis is going to say, "They're holding you down. They're not letting you do what you need to do." I mean, you could have so much more. You've got everything, but you could have so much more if they weren't holding you down. Now, that is Satan talk from the Garden of Eden. And now Candace Owens is saying, wait a minute. You could have so much more if it wasn't for the Jews.
Oh, sure.
You could have so much more if it wasn't for Israel.
And by the way, her numbers are just out. They're not even like, I'm misinformed. She's an outright liar. Like, she's actually lies about this nonsense.
So here's the thing. The truth and the lies. The truth and the lies. Again, the truth and the lies. And we're living in a society where truth has no value. I remember at the beginning of the war, I was so frustrated. Why don't people understand? I mean, look, the truth is there. Okay, look what's going on in Gaza. Okay? We have realized that the Hamas is using the humanitarian crisis, meaning not only allowing its people to be killed, it is actually allowing its people to starve.
Right.
Okay? Even though the aid is coming in, the food is coming in, the Hamas has no incentive. It doesn't make political sense to them for their people not to starve. Yep. The more they starve, the better. The more they die, the better.
That's right. In their mind, that's right.
So we're bringing in aid, and one of the things that they're doing is they are stealing the aid, meaning the United Nations was bringing in trucks. Hamas takes over those trucks and then does two things. First of all, holds most of it in warehouses, and what it does give out makes people pay for it. That's how they're funding their own business.
Yep.
So Israel comes and says, we'll give you the aid directly. We'll put up compounds. We'll bring the trucks into the compound, line up. We won't make you pay. We won't do anything. And we will give you a box of food with 5 meals for 5 people for 5 days.
Yep.
5.
Yep.
Okay. And basically you get the idea of what they're doing. Now, Hamas is, what is it doing? And say, wait a minute, they're breaking our monopoly. If this works, then we will not have. So they're shooting their own people. All right. So we actually have drone footage of the Hamas shooting people on the way to pick up the food. Now, they don't have to shoot everybody, but they have to shoot enough to make the people afraid to do it.
Yeah, that the rest of the people won't do it because of the fear of what's going to end up happening. That's right.
Yeah, but then, you can't say that Hamas is shooting its own people. So what do? You blame Israel.
Of course.
And that is what's going on right now, by the way. And you can see they're blaming Israel for shooting people that are lining up to get the food. Now, again, if Israel wants to finish this, makes no sense. The truth doesn't make sense. That makes no sense that Israel wants to give up the food.
That's right.
To shoot the people. It makes no sense. So, but when people want this to make sense, it will make sense.
Yep.
And the reason they want it to make sense is because they have Jew derangement syndrome. Oh, wow.
By the way, I have to interrupt you. Look at my beautiful wife. Like, she's walking and delivering your new microphone and all that. She's just walking in and walking out. Man, I wish I
She's okay.
I hate it when her and the kids come into the studio and go out, and I can't even go out there and give him a hug or a kiss. See, guys? See, that shows my dedication because it's killing me right now that I cannot. You know what?
Well, you want something killing me right now?
Huh?
Did I tell you that Yarden is getting married, my son?
Oh, really?
Right now in Israel, and if you want to pray for us, this would be amazing. He's got his engagement party going on. My mom's there. My sister-in-laws are there. He's having an engagement party right now in Modin
Wow.
as we're speaking.
Wow.
Yep. So I'm going to have grandkids from that side too.
Yeah, and was he even the last time he was here? He wasn't even in a relationship.
Yeah, well, they had in a relationship. I'm religious. I don't know if people know Yarden is becoming an Orthodox Jew,
Yeah.
or he is an Orthodox Jew. So they have different relationship dynamics than what we're used to. Anybody see Fiddler on the Roof, you get a little bit of a dynamic of how that works. So, yeah, so he's in the middle of an engagement party right now.
Wow.
So it looks like September we're going to have a wedding. So you can say Mazal Tov.
Wow. Wow, that's what a blessing.
Yeah.
So you're going to be in Israel in September.
The only I'm going to say the only blemish on that blessing is I wish that he knew the Lord.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're praying for that, bro.
Yeah, I am too. Every day.
He's searching. And
oh, he definitely is.
So, okay. Should we take questions?
Yeah. Let's see what's going on.
Okay, let's do that. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the.
Well,
wait, is there anything else we need to discuss before we go into the questions?
Okay,
because maybe we should talk about why Oslo is such a blind spot.
Well, I think we got that. I want to talk about what we're on the cusp of right now. Do we want to go into that?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go.
Because
yeah, that's important.
There seems that
that's important.
Bibi is going to be in the United States next week. I think on Monday, if I remember
That's right.
correctly.
Yeah, it's. I thought it was beginning of the week. Yes.
Yeah, and something like that. And there's a growing sense that something is happening that is kind of part of the dynamic of what happened. Again, remember the sequence.
I think Yemen.
I'll get there. Let's go to the sequence. 7th of October. Okay, started off the sequence of events that brought us to here. The ring of fire that was supposed to explode all over Israel kind of fizzled. Okay, we did. Hamas pulled off what it pulled off, and we were surprised and deeply, deeply wounded. But it was supposed to be stage one of a bigger plan. By the way, the plans are coming out. Soleimani was a main instigator. I mean, the original plan, just so people, I don't know if we've talked about this. Okay, Hamas breaks out of Gaza, sparks off. Hezbollah in the north does what Hamas did with Gaza, going into communities and killing and kidnapping and taking over literally communities. The Hezbollah does that in the north, while Hamas is doing that in the south. The Palestinians and Judea and Samaria rise up, and Israel is fighting on all of these levels. The Hezbollah had, they said, 100,000 rockets. Now, think about all that's happening on the 7th of October with the amount of rocket barrage that we got from Iran falling on our heads.
Yeah.
And then Iran decides if it wants to get into it or not. That would have been an existential threat to the state of Israel. That's what they were planning. But Sinwar pulled it off too early. As a result of that, Hamas went into the fight with us, and they're still fighting with us. But in the backdrop, Hezbollah did not get in full-fledged. Then Israel went on the offensive. Operation Grim Reaper, taking out Nasrallah, taking out the head of Hamas in Tehran. And slowly, we peeled parts of this onion. First the Hezbollah part, then the Syrian part fell apart as a result of that.
Right.
So there's all of this dynamic, and the only thing left is what's going on in Gaza. And a Gaza ceasefire is back on the table. Witkoff just now published the Qatari proposal, which is basically versions of what we talked about. 8 hostages released alive, 60-day ceasefire, 2 more hostages released alive after 50 days, thousands of Hamasniks turned back over, and a releasing of more aid, which doesn't really mean anything. But basically that, Hamas probably cannot agree to that because they'd have to agree to ending the war.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's pretty
what
much
would
right.
happen? So the problem is right now, President Trump might push Israel. It looks like, or making sounds that he's going to push Israel into agreeing that not by name, but by actuality, there will be a Hamas representation left in the Gaza Strip afterward. So that's the situation right now. President Trump is pulling Bibi back to the United States and basically going to sit him down and says, I want this to happen. And no matter what, and I think Bibi will have no choice. And now everybody's talking about, okay, minute that happens, that's going to spark, or that's going to be the first domino, and the rest of the dominoes that'll put the whole Abrahamic Accord in one big balagan. And the most talked about aspect of that is a non-war agreement with Syria.
How much? Can I ask you this question? How much of this nonsense that we've been talking about with respect to Gaza and Hamas is coordinated between the president and Bibi?
Well, if
It's an active ruse.
remember, while how do you say? Well, everybody was talking about Israel striking Iran, and then President Trump going to Iran and said, let's reach an agreement. And everybody thought that President Trump was going to reach an agreement and force Bibi not to strike. And it turns out that they were in cahoots the whole time.
How much do you want to bet that's history repeating itself?
I have a feeling. I have a feeling there's some kind of cahoots between Bibi and Trump right now, between that part of the administration and the Israeli government. Now, here's the thing. Both Trump and Bibi have the other side that they have to deal with inside their governments. Okay?
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, even in the MAGA crowd, there are people who don't agree, that didn't agree that we should have hit the. I haven't managed to figure out what JD Vance or where he is.
Yeah, that to me is a tough one. I think JD's way too smart to fall in the useful idiot category, but I think at the same time he's trying to toe the line.
Yeah, but again, Tulsi Gabbard, got smacked by Trump last week.
Yep.
So, by the way, Bibi's got the same problem. We got the same problem.
She needed to get smacked by Trump.
Yeah, but again, we've got our same problem in our government with stuff like that. The army actually came to Bibi this week and said, listen, you got to decide what you want to do, because we're reaching the end of what we can do. We either reach an agreement or we conquer Gaza completely.
Yep.
Or we step out.
Yeah.
And the army is basically saying we need to have a decision where you, the government, want to take us, as opposed to the former chief of staff who was trying to press Bibi into a decision.
Yeah.
This chief of staff is saying, you decide, you make the decision. Bibi is actually deciding now based on what's going on with Trump. And Trump has gotten into Israeli internal politics. I don't know if you heard.
Oh, yeah. No, and listen, I'm very proud of him. I am very proud of our president. I am glad that our president is getting aggressive and is getting very straightforward.
Proactive.
He actually stabbed Shin Bet right in the chest. With what he just did. I mean, I'm telling you, it was some of the things. Look, Donald Trump, whether or not anybody wants to admit it, is an absolutely brilliant man that completely understands the region. He gets it.
So the question is, all right, what's on the table right now? And if he is going to pull out some kind of an agreement where the Hamas, if the Hamas says, okay, let's end the war and we will give up our arms.
Yep.
And we'll turn over some of the arms. I think we might be seeing that kind of an agreement. Syria is interesting. Did I tell you what the connection between Syria and the gas is?
Oh, yeah. That's a big deal.
That is. Well, here's something that I learned this week, is that part of the agreement with Syria is that some of the natural gas that we found in huge quantities offshore, okay, and we're pumping in, it's found offshore, It's pumped into Israel, liquidized?
Yeah.
Did I
Liquid
say that
natural
right?
LNG.
And we're selling it to the Jordanians. We have a pipeline that goes over the Galilee and goes across the Jordan River and goes into Jordan. Now, I don't know if you know, but Jordan has a pipeline with Syria, and they're talking about part of the agreement between Israel and Syria when all of this happens is us selling natural gas to the Syrians through the Jordanian pipeline. Now, I'm sure your bells are ringing because who's in control of Syria now?
Oh, yeah, look, HTS. And really Turkey. If you really think about it,
All
Turkey's
right,
in control of
So why
Syria.
is Turkey allowing this to happen?
Makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
That
And
doesn't.
now-
it makes
now-
sense to you, right?
Now, all of a sudden, and here's another thing that we were hearing, that the Israeli press was talking about the fact that the United States is putting the brakes on the pipeline that goes to Cyprus and Greece. And now all of that makes so much sense.
Because it also helps the interests of Israel. The pipeline, the Grecian pipeline that I call it the Grecian pipeline. It's not, but
Okay.
that pipeline that goes to Cyprus and Greece, by that being functionally disabled for the moment that the exchange starts between Syria and Israel, which is in essence a contract overseen by Turkey, whether or not anybody wants to admit it,
Yep.
right? Completely puts into effect a new opportunity for Europe, specifically Western Europe, to break their dependence on Russia and bring it back into Israel. It's a massive economic move. And by the way, one that will probably work. The other wonderful thing that does is the energy deal that Bibi just signed with Cyprus, okay, has been dramatically interfered with because of the agreement that Turkey has with Libya. That effect with Libya, with respect to the northern portion of the southern portion of the Mediterranean going into the northern portion, it crosses across Cyprus, which interferes with where their barriers are. Russia is involved in that side of the agreement. The changes that we're watching right now gives Russia a huge advantage because there's, in essence, a functional redirection of Nord Stream, which puts them in a very good position with China, believe it or not.
Exactly.
And what it also does is it opens up or closes the problems down that the folks in Cyprus have with respect to security in the economic trade that they begin to start with Israel. Everybody becomes a beneficiary of it. Russia becomes a beneficiary of it. Everybody does. You know the only one that doesn't become a beneficiary? Besides China. You know who else suffers immensely as a result of it? Iran.
Okay.
Because Iran's ability to be able to export energy is going to be mitigated considerably by demand.
Okay, hold that. All right.
And
say
BRICS
this.
suffers. BRICS also suffers, by the way.
Hold that and say this. If on the other side of this, the United States of America pushes Iran into an agreement where they give up their nuclear power and opens up the ability for Iran to export gas. And by the way, remember, Iran has the 10th largest natural gas reserves. What Trump has done with all of this is actually put his hand on all of the energy taps in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, he has control
100%.
of how much oil goes to China. He has control of how much oil or how much energy goes through Russian forces. He has control what happens with Turkey. The guy has actually umbrellaed the whole energy market. If he has control over what's going on in Saudi Arabia, think that President Trump now controls the energy of the world.
He's going to put into effect something a lot more consequential than a lot of people have ever thought about or ever considered. And perhaps the most consequential aspect of this is going to be fundamentally predicated upon the active limiting that's taking place with respect to the people who would compete in interest with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia becomes one of the primary beneficiaries of this, because how it functionally exports its own energy will no longer be relegated to the ups and downs that exist within the outpouring of BRICS. BRICS is taken out of the picture.
Again, America. Again, this is MAGA. This is MAGA.
Oh, 100%.
MAGA.
100%.
I mean, this is making America great again, and it's fascinating to watch it as it unfolds like this. It really is fascinating.
President Trump is a brilliant man. I'm telling you, he gets it. He gets things that the average person cannot analyze.
Just feels it.
Well, I mean, it's part of feeling. I mean, I think they're kind of intertwined. We have this statement in the stock market, right? The statement is, it's not about the chart, it's about the art. So you can look at the technicals and you can make assertions based on what you find in the technicals, but if you don't understand the ebb and the flow and how society within context of the market actually affects things, then you're going to end up having a pretty substantial problem, right? So here's a great example. I'll just give you an example of this in the stock market. If I have an interest in Tesla, let's just say that that's a stock that I'm watching right now, okay? I have to be able to stomach the fact that the volatility that I see in that stock is going to be substantial. Why? Because Elon is in the midst of a feud with the president of the United States. And they're going to exchange some pretty harsh words.
And blows.
And when those words get exchanged and those blows get sent back and forth, the people that are going to suffer the most are going to be the stockholders of Tesla. Right?
So don't buy a Tesla
because
today?
Oh no, heck no! It's a great. I'm not giving anybody stock advice, but it's an AI company. Of course, it's gonna do great things. But my point is, if you were to look at Tesla's technicals and you looked at the chart, it's going to be from day to day a buy or a sell all day. And if you go by the chart, you're going to lose tons of money. But if you go by the chart and you understand the general sentiment of the people who drive the data in the chart, you're going to make an intelligent decision. I think President Trump, unlike any other president in the past, including Truman, is able to understand the art just as well as he understands the chart. You said it perfectly. He gets it. He has the feel. He understands the thumbprint of it.
I want to use the concept that you brought, that you don't get it if you're looking at what happened today and yesterday.
Right.
But when you look at a wider picture,
bingo,
it makes sense. And I'm going to say something. I preached a sermon at Ben David Messianic Congregation about what is a Jew the other day. We need to sit down and talk about that. Very interesting. But one of the things that came up is that what Jews do is they embody attributes of God on the ground in real time.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the attributes, and we talked about covenant and we talked about revelation, but one of the attributes is God is a God of history.
Yes, he is.
And if you look at the story of the Jews, if you were looking at the story of the Jews in 1943, 1944, it would have been terrible. If you look at the stories of the Jews, when did Columbus sail the ocean blue?
1492.
1492. If you'd looked at the Jews in Spain in 1492, it would have been, God has forgotten his people. I mean, Look at what was going on.
That's right.
But if you look at the Jews from Genesis to Revelation, it gives you a wide enough scope, the story of the Jews, that you see that God is in all of history.
That's
right.
I
don't know. It just was an interesting connection to make, that if you're looking just at one event, you're not going to get a picture. God is using the Jewish people. And again, let's go back to what we've been talking about. If you want to derail God's plan, derail the Jewish people.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the inspiration behind the nonsense that we're seeing right now. It's just so true.
Including Jews, by the way. And people say, oh, but even Jews believe. It drives me crazy when I see people get on the social media and start off like this. My dad is Jewish. I'm Jewish.
But,
my grandfather went to Auschwitz. My great-grandfather was a rabbi. Yeah, all of us are the same. Okay, but I do not believe in Zionism.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, and like, we've had those down through, and again, this is just another example of how this works. I mean, go back to the book of Exodus, where people were getting upset with Moses, why he brought them out of Egypt. We should have gone back to Egypt, okay? We have those Exodus Jews today.
Yep.
They're still there. They say, oh, why did you bring us out of Egypt? It would have been better to die in Egypt than to die in the wilderness. Yep. So don't be surprised that there are Jews who are anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic, even in a certain extent, and they bring their Jewishness as a flag that they wave on that one.
That's right. Yeah.
Do we want to do questions?
Yeah, let's do it. You had to end on such a heavy note because that is like...
No.
Sometimes the greatest enemies of Israel are Jews.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's... if I go there, I'm just going to lose my mind.
Wait a minute. Let's make something clear. We're good as a people at most of the things that we do. Okay, we're also this is going to blow your mind. We're also very good at being bad.
You think? You think?
I think that's a good one. Come on, can I copyright that one?
Oh my goodness, yes, bro. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. God bless you. Okay, let's take a look at some of these questions. First of all, I'm gonna go to the super chats and the super stickers. And again, you guys are unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
just the amount of generosity. You guys are just great. Let me go through some of these here. Brad, of course, Brad is the first one to do all of the crazy ones, right? Brad, you say this Mandani character running for NYC mayor wants government-run groceries. After seeing the efficiency of the DMV and the post office, what could go wrong? Schumer, everybody's favorite Palestinian. That's my commentary. Chuck Schumer, everybody's favorite Palestinian, forced a 15-hour reading of the big, beautiful bill. Still, less chance of falling asleep than 15 minutes of Big Mike's podcast. Yeah, I would agree.
Oh, my God.
Have you seen that podcast?
I've heard some of what's coming out from her.
Big Mike. Big Mike.
I had to do that. She's terrible. She is a terrible. It's terrible.
Okay, so what does that mean about the fact that we had a president that was married to her?
Oh, bro, he made that monster. Let me tell you, he made that monster.
No, maybe she made him. I don't know.
Yeah, he could have made him.
I don't know.
It's possible he could have made him. All right, let's go to the next one. Ted Cruz stated the old Fordo nuclear facility would be a great new site for the UN. The UN could pass resolutions against Israel and could have a warm glow while doing so. I love that.
Well, you know that it is the new showcase of Israel's defense munitions industry.
Beautiful.
You know, after they kicked him out of the Paris Air Show.
Oh, man. Is that wild? And do you know there's a number? I forgot what it was. They're saying like now after the Paris Air Show, they're saying there's like, after they did that, there was like 3 times as many crashes as they've had.
Yeah, but did you see the sign on the booth?
Oh,
the
that's
Israeli
hilarious.
Booth,
that
said that we have moved our exhibition to Tehran.
Hilarious. Hilarious. You're the one, you were going to send me the picture of that. I haven't seen it yet. But that's hilarious. We should put that up. Jada, you're just unbelievably, you're amazing. You say, God bless you, brothers. Have a blessed day. Aloha from Hawaii. Aloha to you. You're a blessing. Bridgeford. No. Badge Girl for God. Oh, my goodness. What's wrong with me? We know you. Brad, tell Ted if the UN moves to Fordo, that CNN and BBC could cover the resolutions passed. You know how much they love spreading radioactive, toxic news. That is a brilliant.
That's good.
I just love that.
That is good.
I think that is sweet. I'm not reading this, Vin Dog.
What did Vin Dog
Vin
say?
says, I have a video of James beatboxing.
Really?
Yeah. There's one of me out there.
By the way, Vin Dog, we need to talk. I saw your message. I'll get back. I'll have Christy call you.
Brad, he's talking about Big Mike. He says, married to her, don't you mean Barack was married to him? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a dude, by the way.
I
don't know. I think she's a dude.
So many army jokes that are coming up here that I'm not going to go down.
Yeah. She's not a... Anyway, I'm about to get myself in big trouble. Okay, I'm going to start at the bottom with questions. If you guys have already submitted it, submit it again. Jada's is the one that's at the bottom. Jada, you say, heard that the Eastern Gate is shifting or crumbling. Is that so?
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either, Jada.
There was a shift in the Eastern Gate, and there's a whole argument about where the Eastern Gate is. I haven't heard that one specifically. I'll be checking it out.
I'll look at that too. That's something I didn't hear. I would think that would have come across my gate. I do know that they're shifting in that ground quite a bit.
Well, the whole walls have shifted because of what they did on the southern side.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard that. I'll check that
because
out.
of the excavation operations. Yeah. And they kind of expected that, and some of the retro work that they did wasn't enough. Is that the case?
Well, no. When the Muslims kind of cleared out everything under Solomon's tables, what we call Solomon's stables,
right. Yeah.
Okay, then that changed the whole drainage, and that moved. And I don't know if you ever look at a picture of the eastern wall of the Temple Mount, you can see there's a patch that is newly done. And that was a result of bulging out of all kinds of stuff. So,
so they had to recompact it to the. Okay. This is Chansey RN. You say, what do you think of the theory that God is following the patterns of Jewish holidays? I have an issue with it because no one knows the day or the hour, but can't argue with history. No, look, the pattern of Jewish holidays is a natural fit for things that happen on God's calendar simply because they follow the lunar pattern. So it all just fits in with the way God created the heavens and the earth and the universe. So if something were to happen like the rapture or the second coming and it fell near one of the Jewish holidays, it wouldn't surprise me. But like you said, no one knows the day or the hour. So there's no way you can say, oh, it's going to happen. And by the way, I mean, you wait and see. Look, they're coming up. Some of the big holidays are coming up in September, and you're going to see people say, oh, the rapture is going to happen. The rapture is going to happen. Look, we had one guy who has not apologized, said 2 years ago that the rapture was going to happen on the 23rd of September. Another guy said it was going to happen on the 19th of September because of the bright and morning star that you read about in Peter. Why aren't those guys getting called out?
How about the ones who said that it was going to happen in 2000?
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. Okay, let's go take some other questions. Let me see here. No. I don't.
So I'll bring up something. The new mayor of New York?
Yeah, he's a devil. We're doing a video on that clown.
Okay, so the mayor of New York, he's a Muslim communist.
Yep.
Okay, big balagan. But people tend to forget that New York is the second largest Jewish city in the world.
Isn't
it has
that
the
wild?
second largest population. So, again, let's go back to what we keep on talking. What would move the Jews out of New York?
Yeah, persecution.
Exactly. And if this goes the way it looks like it's going to go, and by the way, there's a boom of real estate in Israel because a lot of the Jews from New York are going to be selling their real estate in New York. The state of Israel actually has offered incentives for New York Jews who move out of New York to move to Israel.
Well, did you know that one of the most high volume real estate salesmen in New York, Ryan, I forgot his last name, just basically told everybody, he put it out. It was a public statement. He made a tweet where he said that this supposed mayor candidate, right, has cost him to lose. There are tons of clients right now mid-transaction that are saying they want out. They don't want property in New York.
No,
because of this clown.
There's going to be a big issue. But think about a major exodus of New York Jews to Israel. And Israel is thinking about incentivizing.
Well, it's in their best interest to incentivize them.
So we might see. Again, you ask yourself, what's going to bring people from the United States, the largest Jewish population outside of Israel?
If we have a bunch of Jewish men come from New York, will they waive the IDF requirement?
There's so law of return. Okay,
Yeah.
you can be a citizen if you're Jewish. The requirement for military service is 26. If you're older than 26, then you are not expected to.
Oh, I see.
So, on the other hand, people under 26 do a shortened version,
Yeah.
and I think at a certain age, whatever. So yeah, the IDF requirement, and they will not take women. They will not draft women in that case at all.
I hear Arabs too.
What?
If you're an Israeli, Arab Israeli, you're not
not
required.
drafted.
Yeah,
But
you're not
By
required.
the way, there is a growing amount of Arabs that are joining the
Oh,
IDF.
I know, and doing a kick butt job too.
And they're doing. By the way, the Druze too. There's a resurgence of Druze support for Israel, mainly because Israel stood up to Syria, and basically saved the Druze in Syria.
Yeah, which was very important, and they still have possession of that part of the Golden Heights, which is
So we'll
good.
see.
And we're keeping it, which is good. Israel's keeping it.
We'll see.
which is-
By the
yeah.
way, part of the agreement that they're talking about between Syria and Israel is that they make a bigger ski resort on Mount Hermon for skiers from the Middle East. I'm saying to myself,
Oh, the humor. Brad Bunn, you say, what do all the YouTubers do after the rapture? After the rapture does not occur on the Feast of Trumpets, they start working on their rapture Feast of Trumpets for next year? Yeah, that's pretty much what happens, Brad. It's really ridiculous. There's a lot of them that have
there's a lot of them
absolutely
are
no
saying
credibility.
the Feast of Trumpets this year.
They will start saying it. They haven't said it yet, but they will.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that's what they do. That's exactly what they do.
Well, it looks like they do the Feast of Trumpets like I do. Have you ever seen me blow the shofar?
no, I have. Oh, yes, I have.
Well, I don't know how to blow the shofar. It comes
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
It comes out.
Yeah, but remember
So
it was at the place. You remember the place where me and you and my dad sat down and we had ahwa using your little IDF. You had your little IDF thing at the place where the pool was. The kids were swimming. They gave us the bread.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah, you grabbed one of those from the guy's
But I
shop.
don't know how to blow it.
It was kind of hilarious.
I mean, if the
yeah.
walls of Jericho would tumble because I blew the shofar, the only thing
I
that
tried. I think I did a
could
better
kick
job than you.
Yeah, it could. So what I'm saying, these Feast of Trumpets people, that's how they blow the shofar, like I do.
You know, when we were there, if you remember, when we were there having coffee, me, you, and my dad, and the rest of the group was swimming in the pool or swimming in the lake or whatever,
Yep.
you could hear the deep rumbles of the bombs going
Oh, yeah.
off.
There was a lot of things.
It was wild, and we all felt perfectly secure.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question. Hopefully, Brad, this is serious. I hope it is, because it'll be our last one. With Melanie, I think it's whatever.
Mandani,
Mandani. With Mandani, Cuomo, Eric Adams, all running for NYC mayor. Is it possible that they split the Democratic vote and actually get a Republican mayor? Maybe. That's what everybody's concerned with Adams. They're really concerned with that.
Would Cuomo be a good
Cuomo.
mayor?
No. Cuomo was a terrible governor. He's a liar. He killed a lot of people. He was responsible for a lot of
Really?
people dying in New York. Oh yeah, I'll never forget the way he handled everything that happened with COVID. He would be terrible. I think the current mayor Adams is probably, of all the Democratic people, he'll be the best. But it could be that a Republican could win. It could.
Do you see Brian's question there?
Brian.
I didn't
Brian
hear about
Simpson.
that.
Did you see the Supreme Court's ruling that states can withhold money from Planned Parenthood? Yes. And by the way, things are going to change. Oh wait, can withhold? No. I need to go look. What case was that? I wonder what. Can you tell me what the case was?
That sounds interesting.
I need to. The Planned Parenthood technicality was the federal level, not the state level. I wonder what. Maybe it was the same case. I have to go look, bro. I don't know. I have to go look. If you can quote the case, let me know. All right. We're going to wrap it up. Any other?
Pivotal week, but again, I feel deja vu here because I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
saying pivotal week for the last
Oh my goodness.
for the last year.
It is deja vu.
Ugh.
It is deja vu. It's crazy. What we're dealing with right now is like something like no one's ever seen. Never seen anything like
BB's
this.
going to be in the States on Monday. So when we meet here next Tuesday, we're going to know what they kind of decided. And I have a feeling they're going to put something out on the table together there.
100%.
So yeah,
I know it's coming. I can sense it.
all right. Let's get this up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's pray. David, you want to do the honors?
Yep.
Okay.
Avidu Shabashamayim, just thank you for the peace, the quiet, the prosperity, the grace that we live in this amazing country right now. But we pray that will be extended both to Israel, and I'm going to say this: save the people in Gaza from
Yes.
the evil that has perpetrated them. Save the people in Iran from the evil that has perpetrated them.
Yes.
Save the people in Yemen from the evil that is growing there, and may your will cover all of this.
Mm-hmm.
We thank you for bringing BB, and we thank you for bringing President Trump and making them such players. Just pray for wisdom for all of the different players in all of this, and we pray for the hostages. Please. Let the people go. Help them get back to their families.
Mm.
So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for Pastor James having this platform so people can share. And we just bless you in the name of your son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Guys, we love you. Keep fighting the good fight.
Amen.
Pray for us. We get a lot going on, but we're excited. God's doing great things. We're living in a crazy time, aren't we?
Oh, we are. Oh, we are.
All right. We love you guys. Shalom.